Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Coach Paula, and I would like to welcome you to the GPS Accountability Activation 2026. I certainly want to welcome you. Thank you for being here, for those that are here for the live, and for those that will catch this on replay. Thank you for taking the time to listen and to observe and understand what the GPS accountability circle and framework is. And so, like I said, my name is Coach Paula, and today I'm going to briefly introduce you to GPS, my coaching framework known for growth, purpose, and success. And so, this framework is really the rhythm that helps high capacity, high achieving women really move from intention to implementation. If you've ever been like me, we have these great intentions, but we don't quite implement all that we say we wanted to do. And so, if you've ever felt scattered or overwhelmed or inconsistent in anything that you've been doing, then trust me, the GPS accountability circle is for you. So I'm not going to be before you long, but I am going to step through this and hopefully you will get something out of it and it will be beneficial to you. So let's dive in. So let's start with the who. Who is this for? I'm going to take a very fundamental approach to answer 6 key questions: who, what, when, where, why, how, and when. And so, as we step through these, who is this for? Well, this is for someone who is high capacity, high functioning, a woman that is doing well in life, very strong, but you don't always finish what you started to do. And at the end of the day, we've got to be a finisher, right? And so you know what to do, but perhaps you're not consistent in doing the things that you said you wanted to do. Or perhaps you are doing life for everyone else and helping everyone else build their dreams and build the things that they want to do, but you're really not accomplishing the things that you want to do for yourself. So as a result, you're brilliant, you're caring, you're a capable woman, but you're actually tired of starting strong and then fading out at the end. You carry so much for everyone else that at the end of the day, you're kind of exhausted and your goals kind of get the leftovers and you don't show up with the fullness for yourself. Well, that's where GPS helps you to reset that rhythm in a way that is sustainable, still allows you to support others, but also allows you to support yourself and stay soul aligned. So, why is this necessary? Let's step through that. We talked about the who. Why is this necessary? Because this is not a motivation problem. You're, like I said, you're a high powered woman who's doing well in her career and in life. So, this really isn't a motivation issue. You're motivated. You already care very deeply. But what you're actually missing is a method. And that's what the GPS process is. It's a method, a simple structure for your month, for your week, and for your day. And so it gives you something very simple to follow. And there's no circle like the GPS circle that blends both spiritual and strategic accountability. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But like I said, the why, this isn't a motivation problem. This is really about a method problem. And that is what the GPS accountability circle is going to solve. So, what is GPS all about? Like, okay, what? Here's the what. And so, like I said, it's growth, purpose, and success. And so growth ultimately is what roots you. The theme for PH Academy in 2026 is root in 2026. And we're really going to talk about the significance of having deep roots. And, you look at a tree and as tall as a tree is outwardly, it is just that tall in its root system. And so roots and growth are significant because growth roots you, but growth is expansion. It's all about expansion, right? But expansion, not randomly, with intention. So we're not just randomly growing or growing willy-nilly. We have intention about what we're doing, but we're not growing through exhaustion. So that's the perspective of growth. From a purpose perspective, purpose is all about revealing the who. Who are you? And so being able to reveal that, this purpose then becomes an anchoring for your why. when your road changes, when things come in and things come and distract you and may cause you to fall off keter in some way, shape, or form. Purpose is ultimately what reveals you and anchors you in what it is that you're to do. And then lastly, success. Success refines you. This isn't about just winning and having, material goods or things of that nature. Success ultimately is living forward with peace and with progress, and hopefully leaving some type of legacy behind. So we've done the who, we've done the why, we've done the what. And so GPS is ultimately built around these three anchors: growth, purpose, and success. And so let's now step into the how. How does GPS do this? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. Now, if you know anything about Coach Paula, you know that I like acronyms. And so, of course, I'm not going to have a framework that doesn't use an acronym, I admit. And so GPS, I use that and I duplicate that often within the framework, because we don't just set goals, we build a guided rhythm. And that's what GPS is all about. And so GPS starts with your governing purpose statement. What exactly is that? Well, that is you setting your intention. And so, January is coming up, and people are going to be making vision boards and declaring all these different things that they're going to do in the new year. And trust me, I am a strong proponent and I believe in that. However, I believe that it's not just for that singular time, that we should have purpose and intention in what it is that we're doing. And so you create this governing purpose statement, and what you do is you make your mile marker where you marking your intentional life expectations. So instead of just simply making a vision board with pictures and images, we are actually declaring, because how was the world framed and how was the world formed? With words. It wasn't formed with pictures. And no offense to vision boards. Trust me, I have quite a few around my house that I've made. And so I certainly understand that. But I think it's important for us to frame our world with words. And so by marking our intentional life expectations, we actually write a statement about what it is that we expect to achieve. Now, I do believe in an annual assessment each year, but I also believe in there's something called the 12-week year. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that book, but it takes your annual year and turns it into 12 weeks. And so the GPS Accountability Circle wants to leverage that concept. And so instead of thinking the whole year, we're going to break it into quarters. And so when you make your governing purpose statement, it's going to be, what am I doing in Q1? Yeah, I know October, November, December, Q4 is out there, but I want to define for these 90 days, these 12 weeks, is my intention. So I'm my mile marker, marking my intentional life expectations. And so you define your GPS. What is my growth, purpose, and success marker intention for these 3 months? And then you map that out. And so that's the first part. That's your overall arching direction that you want to go. But then the second GPS is your goal practicing strategy. And so what the goal practicing strategy does is it takes and creates a trip. And we take month by month by month, those 3 months, and we begin to track the relevant incremental progress. So if we say our 90-day plan is we want to achieve X, Y, and Z, and we always say it in a present tense as if it's already done, not I will or, whatever. We're saying I am, we declare it, we're speaking spirit. So we declare it as already done, but then we chunk it down. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you walk? One step at a time. And so we break that down into monthly increments. So say quarter one, by March 31st of 2026, I am, and we declare what that mile marker is. But then how do I get there? In January, I'm going to do this. In February, I'm going to do this. And in March, I'm going to get this, because I'm chunking it down and implementing it. This is where kind of Coach Paula's professionalism as a project manager, I can honestly say, not from a bragging perspective, but I've been a project manager for nearly 30 years. And so planning and organizing, that's my jam. And so we take that and we apply that to the GPS framework. And so you're going to build your strategy. You're going to track your movement with smarter goals. Now, we all know what SMART goals are: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. We've learned about those, but I like to raise the game a little bit and call them SMARTer goals and add the ER to the end, because I want it to be something that's exciting. Because guess what, baby? If it doesn't move you, then you're not going to be motivated to do it. So the E is exciting, and then the R is risky. You got to stretch yourself a little bit. I'm just not going to set a goal that is easily achievable, because if it's not stretching you, then it's really not really growing you, because that's what we want to do. So we're going to create smarter goals over the course of those 3 months, and then we're going to track them using our TRIP methodology, tracking relevant incremental progress. Now, we're not all work and no play, right? And so we get to the third component of this, which is the great and powerful scenes. Now, this is where we enjoy the ride. And this is a very significant part, because I think it's important for ride. We want to remember the important daily experiences. So many things happen to us over the course of the day, and sometimes we forget. Chapter 55 for me has glitches in the matrix sometimes. And so it's important for me to write down and make note. And so this is where we capture that one thought. Maybe you're not a huge journaler or anything like that, but what is that one thing that you want to remember next week, next month, next year? I almost call it like a 10-10-10. I've heard that methodology before. What do I want to remember in 10 hours or 10 days or 10 months or 10 years, right? And so that is what you're going to do. You're going to remember those important daily experiences, capture those moments, and celebrate the milestones. We want to celebrate both the small wins and the big wins. And so that's the framework that represents GPS, growth, purpose, and success. Having your governing purpose statement, what you intend to do, while you're marking your intentional life expectations. Setting your goals to achieve there as a goal practicing strategy by tracking your relevant incremental progress along the way. And then having those great and powerful scenes where you celebrate and you ride, and remembering those important daily experiences. That is how we GPS. Now, continuing with this, I'm just going to, don't let this chart alarm you in any way, but I want to just explain how we do this, because one of the things I like to do is I like to meet people where they are. And some people are like, hey, Coach Paula, I really like this, and I think I'm ready to jump in. And others are like, I think I need a little more information, and I want to research that a little bit more. I want to service all fronts. And so the where, we're doing who, what, when, where, why, and how, and when. And so the where component in this is which GPS path is right for you. Because at the end of the day, we want what's right for you. We want to meet you where you are and help you to get ultimately where you're trying to go. And so I want to just outline these 3 different processes of how you can enter into the GPS framework. You can preview, you can be part of foundations, or you can say, you know what, I'm all in and I'm going to join the accountability circle. So let's talk about that. Within the preview, this is basically a 5-day process where you're going to get some micro teaching on growth, purpose, and success. And you're going to be able to do that teaching over those 5 days. It will roll out like every couple of days, just so you have an opportunity to sit with the material, understand what is growth, understand what is purpose, understand what is success, and how do you apply that to your life. And so that's the preview. It's free, complimentary for you to just explore and understand and see. Maybe you stop there and that's all you needed. That's great. But then if you want to dig a little bit deeper, you might want to consider foundations. Well, foundations will get that micro teaching. They'll have access to that information, but we'll also do some deeper teaching as it relates to growth, to purpose, and success. Just giving a hint, I do have 3 books. Actually, it's 4, but 3 that are coming out in probably February of 2026, where I take these principles of growth, purpose, and success, and there are 48 of them for each component. There are 48 principles of growth, 48 principles of purpose, and 48 principles of success. And so the foundations students will get opportunity to delve into those as well. Now, foundations is evergreen. It's not a full circle. It's not a cohort, a community of people that are working together, but this is ideally for someone who is self-paced and really doesn't want the accountability and just kind of wants to work in a vacuum, and assess the information. So you're not going to get the goal setting framework that I talked about, the mile, the trip, the ride. You won't be introduced to G-Fort, which is a fortified goal setting system that I've developed. And you won't have the PH Academy classes, but you can get some really good information in the deep teaching and in the cohort teaching that will occur. And so that's $47 for the 3 classes that you can take for foundations. And then maybe you're that last person that's like, you know what, I'm all in. I want it all, Coach Paula. And so you say, okay, so you're going to get the micro teaching. You're going to get the teaching that's part of foundations, but then you're also going to get the other tools and resources as far as the mile, the trip, the ride, and be able to assess tools and resources that assist you with that. You're also going to get the branding information as it relates to G-Fort and that goal setting framework and system. And then you're also going to get enrolled in PH Academy for that 3-month period. And in PH Academy, we have monthly classes based on our subject matter for the annual curriculum. And we look at awareness, intention, and momentum. So you're going to get 3 PH Academy classes. And you're also going to get the 3 classes on growth, purpose, and success. In addition, you're going to get a community of like-minded women that want to grow as well and will be sharpeners. There'll be group coaching and opportunities to meet with me and to walk through these frameworks together. So you're getting 6 classes plus a community and group coaching for $97 for the entire quarter. And so you pick and choose what is your lane. Are you the curious? Are you the self-paced? Or are you the all in? And so that's an opportunity for you to choose, because ultimately we are designing to meet you where you are. Now, when does all this happen? I'm so glad you asked. The biggest thing happened January 1st of 2026. So I wanted to get this information, some decisions about what you might want to do. Now, if you're a preview person and you want to just do the preview, hey, Coach Paula, I want to preview, that's going to be accessible on my Learning Academy platform known as PH Academy on 12/1/25. Once you enroll, you'll get the information to be able to access that, and then that information will be made available to you, and you'll have access through the end of January of 2026 to do those 3 modules of information. Or if you say, you know what, Coach Paula, I want to do that foundations, I want to take that evergreen course. Those evergreen courses are, like I said, 3 modules, one on growth, one on purpose, one on success. And you will have access to the platform starting 1/21/26. For that, it will run concurrent with the the accountability circle. But you'll have your own self-pace and you'll have access to that class until June 30th of 2026. You'll have 6-month access to do those 3 modules of learning. Or if you're all in and you want to be part of the accountability circle and meet with me on a regular basis and this group of women that are going to come together, then you'll get access to that platform on 12/15. We'll have an orientation to know and understand how to utilize the tools and the frameworks, and then we'll start our teaching. The GPS Accountability Circle will meet the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. For our live group coaching session. And that'll be an opportunity for you to meet with the ladies that are in the group and with me. But also you'll be able to get live teaching on growth, on purpose, on success, and then your activities that you'll be doing privately as well. We'll talk about those, we'll set our goals, and we'll work through all of this together. Now, I'd like to share with you how this teaching is going to work. Now, This is the whole year framework. Don't be alarmed by this sheet. So I'm only going to focus on quarter one because that's what I'm focusing on in this presentation. But I want you to see that this is part of a larger ecosystem. And so, like I said, in 2026, the uh, foundational education for GPS and for PH Academy is root. And so we're going to root in 26. And the acronym for root is we're going to reflect, we're going to order, we're going to own, and then we're going to thrive. That's what we're going to do each quarter in the PH Academy. But then in GPS, we're going to focus on growth, purpose, and success. So someone who is in the accountability circle gets all 6 dimensions. You're going to be able to root with aim, awareness, intention, and momentum, but then you're also going to get teaching on growth, purpose, and success. So what does that intersection look like? Well, these classes are only the ones that are related to GPS. There are other classes, like I said, for PH Academy, there are 3 other classes. But just looking at the growth, purpose, and success classes in January for quarter one, we're going to talk for growth about grace for what shifts unexpectedly. So we're going to look at things that happen, having that flexibility for things that happen in life and being able to adapt to change without losing your center. You know, things happen and things shock us to the core. But how do we bounce back? How do we reframe? How do we recover? And so we're going to talk about that in the GPS Accountability Circle in January and how to grow through it as we're going through it, you know? And so that'll be the growth arm. In February, for purpose, we are going to actually go through the 3 components of the 12 components of the I Transformed framework. That is a framework that I've developed for my purpose teaching. And we're going to talk about transformation. And so the first 3 components of I Transformed are identity, trust, and resilience. You got to know who you are. You got to trust in who and what that is. And then you have to have the resilience and the courage to walk it out. So our focus in February is going to be the foundation of becoming and understanding what that looks like. Because your purpose, you've got to become your purpose and you've got to walk and live that out. And so lastly, when we get to the success component in March, we're going to use the RICH framework that I've developed, which is all about relationships, impact, confidence, and honor. And so for the month of March, we're going to talk about relationships, understanding connection before completion. Relationships are important. So we're going to have some conversations about emotional intelligence. We're going to talk about building meaningful bonds that support sustainable success, because success is not just about material wealth. Success is also rooted and grounded in these relationships. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what GPS will be doing in the first quarter of 2026, but this continues in every quarter throughout in 2026. So when you enroll for that first quarter, you're going to get a lot of information. Like I said, 6 classes you'll be able to take and enjoy, but it continues. So you can either stay with the cohort and continue, or you can take what you get in that first quarter and use it and apply it into your life. And so I'm hopeful that you will consider enrolling. You can kind of see that this is part of a larger framework and hopefully see the value in what that provides. So what are the next steps as we wind down? The next steps are to activate your GPS. Where do you fit? What's best aligned with your life and what it is that you need to do? And so you might want the GPS preview. And so if you want that, that's the QR code on the far left. You can scan that, or you can go ultimately, all of this information, if you're not, comfortable or savvy with QR codes, you can go to my website. It's www.gps, for the GPS, .paulahollis.com. And that website has all of this information. It has even more information than what I provided here, but you can explore and understand what GPS is all about. And so you can register for the preview. Like I said, that'll be starting December the 1st, and you'll have access to it until the end of January of 2026. And you can get a sense of what is this all about. Or you can say, you know what, I want the foundations. I don't really want the accountability circle, and I want to start small, and I don't want to do that. Well, consider foundations and take the $47, and you'll get the 3 modules: one for growth, one for purpose, and one for success. And you can study those at your own pace. Or you can say, I'm all in. Let's go, Coach Paula. Sign me up. And so if you want to do the GPS Accountability Circle, the first thing to do is to do your orientation. And as far as an administrative fee and processing and for enrollment into that, a one-time $10 assessment is provided. You'll get your orientation. And then from the orientation, you can say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Or you can say, yep, I'm ready. Sign me up. And then you pay your tuition for the first quarter of $97. And so find what works for you. At the end of the day, like I said, I want to design programming that meets you where you are and ultimately helps you to get where it is that you're trying to get. And so you can start your year of 2026 aligned. We want to start our year aligned. And so we want to make sure that we are doing what is necessary for us to be rooted, for us to be grounded, and for us ultimately to do what we need to do. So you either get the 7-day introduction, that's free, the GPS Foundations 90-day course that's standalone, or join the 12-week, 3-month accountability circle with group coaching, a community, goal setting, and all of that wonderful stuff as well. Find what works for you and work it, whatever that is. Coach Paula is here to support you. And so I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for being a part of this. I hope that you will grow with purpose, that you will walk in success. I hope something I've said has shifted your energy and awakened your potential. By all means, don't ever hesitate to reach out if there's something that I need to clarify. Watch this replay. If there's something that you don't understand, by all means, contact me, check out the website, send me an email or DM. But know ultimately that I am here to support you, your growth, your purpose, and your success. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.